everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to try to make a little flower bracelet today using some 6/0 seed beads. Of course, I've got other beads here too. But I had a lady post on my Facebook page and asked that I do something with 6/0 seed beads. And it was weeks ago. I get so frustrated with Facebook. I don't get the notifications, especially on my group page. I don't get the notifications, and I just happened to be on there looking one day, and there it was, and it was weeks ago. And I hope she doesn't think I was ignoring her, because I was not. But I haven't really tried this yet because I have an assignment to do today for my little job that I do here from home, and so I don't have a lot of time. I usually try to do these things ahead of time so I know for sure what I'm doing, but I've not yet. So I'm just going to try this idea I've got and see if it works. So I've got some 6/0 seed beads here. These are white Ceylon Miyuki. And then I've got some Miyuki 11/0s in my galvanized silver that I use a lot. And then I've got some Miyuki seed beads in Duracoat dyed opaque spruce. I wanted to get a little green in there. Try to pretend like it's, grass or something, leaves or something. I've got some 4mm yellow bicones I want to use for the center of my flowers. I've got my 8-pound fire lining crystal. I've got a toggle clasp, a couple of jump rings, a couple of wire guards, and two 8/0 galvanized silver seed beads that I'm going to use for my clasping area. I've got a couple of size 11 tulip beading needles. I'm only going to use one, but I always like to have an extra in case I lose one. All I've got for tools are my scissors to cut my fire line, and my chain nose pliers, and my bent chain nose pliers. The bent chain nose pliers I got from BB Craft years ago, and I'll just be using these to put my clasp on at the end, and then I use the chain nose pliers to flatten my thread so I can get it through the needle. I think that's everything, so hold on and I'll get some beads poured out and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to get started now, and I've got my needle threaded, and I'm not leaving much of a tail at all because I'm going to do my clasping part first, and by the time I sew through these as many times as I'm going to, it's not going to come loose. So I'm going to pick up 4 of my green 11/0s. Take them down here to the stop bead, and I'm going to go back up the first 2. And that's going to set 2 next to 2 there. Now I'm going to go back down these 2. Back up through these 2. I think my stop bead got caught in there that time. Yeah. Now I'm going to come back down these 2. I just wanted to reinforce that, and I want to get back on this side that has my stop bead tail on here, because this is the side I'm going to do my clasp on. I'm going to pick up a silver 11/0 and my 8/0 and my wire guardian. I'm going to come back down the other side of my wire guardian and my 8/0. I'm going to hold the wire guardian and pinch it so that the wire will, or the thread will come down there in that channel like I need it to. Now I'm going to pick up one more 11/0, and I'm going to come around here and go down the other 2 green beads next to the ones I came out of to begin with there. going to go back up these two 11-ohs and the silver 11-oh. Go back up the 8-oh, back up the wire guardian, back down the other channel of the wire guardian, and back into the 8-oh. Pinch my wire guardian so the thread will land in the channel. Now back down this 8-oh, this 11-oh, silver 11-oh, and these two green 11-ohs. And then I'm going to go back up these two green 11-ohs next to it, and back up the silver 11-oh. And I'm going to go back up the 8-oh, back up one channel of the wire guardian, now I'm going to go back down the wire guardian, the other channel, back into the 8-oh. I'm just going to come down the other channel of the wire guardian now. It doesn't want to go in there. Well, it came out or something. Back down the other channel of the wire guardian. Now I'm going to go back into the 8-oh. Back into the silver 11-oh and the two green 11-ohs. That's what I've got for my clasp. I'm going to add my clasp on now. I'm just going to cut off this tail, get it out of my way. Okay, now I'm going to pick up an 11-oh. I'm going to go down, back down these two green 11-ohs. And that's going to sit that little 11-oh on his side there. Now I'm going to come back over here and go up the two green 11-ohs on the other side. That. And I'm going to come back through this 11-oh that I've got on its side here. Now I'm going to pick up 6 of my 6-ohs. And I'm going to come down here and go in the other side of the 11-oh, opposite the one I'm coming out there. I'm going to sew back through these 6-ohs again because they're big and they will be very loose if we don't sew through them several more times. I'm going to sew through them until I'm coming back through this 11-0 that I connected to there. I'm going to come back through one of my 6-0s. And now I'm going to put an 11-0 between all my 6-0s. So we'll kind of help make it round. Now I'm back here to this 11-0 that I connected to, so I'm just going to go through it. And that gives me a little bit more of a round shape there. Now I'm going to take my bicones here. I forgot to get them out. I'm going to take one of my, I'm coming out of this 11-0 down here that I connected my green ones to my green ones there. I'm going to pick up one of my bicones. I'm coming out the bottom of this 11-0 right here. I'm going to find the 11-0 opposite, which is this one right here. And I'm going to go in the opposite, the top of it. Bring my thread through. Make sure my bicone lands up here on top. It's going to land up here on top in the center. Like that. Now I'm going to go pull tight to get it in there good. Now I'm going to go back through the bicone. And I started by coming out the bottom of this 11-0. I'm going to go back in the top of it. Pull my thread through. Pull tight. Now I'm going to go back through the 6-0, the 11-0, and the 6-0. I'm just going to go back around through all these again, all the 6-0s and all the 11-0s. Make sure not to miss any. And I want to come out opposite this 11-0 that I connected to my green ones here. I want to come out this one here. That's my first little flower. And that puts your bicone sort of, it's not all the way down in there, it's kind of sticking out the top here. So when I put my bicones from now on in the next flowers, I'm going to make sure they all stick up on the same side. So now I'm going to do my little connection point here. I'm going to take two of my green 11-0s. And I'm coming out the top of this silver 11-0. I'm just going to go on the bottom of it. Pull these through. I'm going to make them sit with their holes sitting up. I'm going to go back up through this green 11-0. I'm going to pick up 2 more green 11-0s. I'm going to go down this green 11-0 next to it. Kind of makes a little herringbone unit there. Now I'm going to go back through this silver 11-0. Back up through these 2 green beads, these 2 green 11-0s. Now I'm going to pick up a silver 11-0 and put it, go from the top of this green bead to the top of this, down these 2 green beads. I'm going to go back through this silver 11-0 one more time. Just the silver 11-0. Back up these 2 green beads. And back out this silver 11-0. So now I'm going to pick up 6 more of my 6-0s. I'm coming out the bottom of this silver 11-0. I'm going to go back in the top. I'm going to go back through all the beads again, all the 6-0s again. Tighten them up. Come back through this 11-0, silver 11-0. Go back through this first 6-0. Now I'm going to put 11-0s between all the 6-0s to round out my flower. And I don't know what to tell y'all this stitch is, because it's not any stitch. It's not right angle weave or herringbone or anything like that. It's just something I sort of came up with to try and use these 6-0s, because that lady asked me to use some 6-0s, and of course my mind, it being springtime, my mind went to flowers. So now I'm putting my last 11-0 in here, and I'm going to go back through that 11-0 I connected to there. I'm going to go back through all the beads again, all the 6-0s and the 11-0s. Until I get back down here to the one that I connected to begin with. Now I'm going to pick up one of my bicones. I'm coming out the bottom of this 11-0. I'm going to go across to the opposite 11-0 and go in the top. And I'm going to make sure my bicone, if I can keep from dropping it, make sure my bicone falls on the same side as this one is kind of poking up there a little bit. It's really not very much, but it's a little bit, so I'm going to make sure my bicone falls. Well, I dropped it off my needle. No, I didn't. There it is. I'm going to make sure it falls on the same side of my flower so that they're all sticking up a little bit on the same side. Now, I'm going to go back through my bicone. And I started out coming out the bottom of this 11-0, so I'm going to go back in the top of it. Pull it tight. Now I'm going to go back through my 6-0s and my 11-0s. And don't get wrapped around the work. Back through all of them again to tighten everything up and get everything secure. Come back through this 11-0 at my connection point one more time. I'm going to go back around, keep going around the 6-0s and the 11-0s. And I'm going to come out this 11-0 opposite the 11-0 I connected to with my green beads here. Now I'm going to stop just for a minute because I saw my phone light up and my husband's doctor's calling, so I've got to get this. I'll be back. Okay, now I'll do one more flower and one more connection point with you, and then I'll leave you alone. I'm going to pick up 2 of my green 11-0s. I'm coming out the top of this silver 11-0. I'm going to go in the bottom. Make sure my beads are sitting with their holes facing up. Now I'm going to go up this bead, this silver or green bead. I'm going to pick up 2 more of my green 11-0s. I'm going to go from the top of this green bead to down the top of this green bead. Now I'm going to go back in my silver 11-0. Back up these 2 green beads. Pick up an 11-0, silver 11-0. I'm going to go down these 2 green beads. Set him on his side there. I'm going to go back through this silver 11-0. Back up these 2 green beads. And back out this silver 11-0. Now I'll pick up 6 of my 6-0s. I'm coming out the top of this silver 11-0. I'm going to go on the bottom. I'm going to sew back through all the 6 O's again. Till I get back around here to where I connected with this silver one. I'm going to go back through it. I go back up through this first 6-0. I'm going to put 11 O's between all my 6 O's to round out my flower. And when I get down here to my connection point, I'm going to go back through this 11-0 that's already on here. I'm going to go back through all the 6 O's and 11 O's again. Till I get back down here to my connection point. Now I'm going to pick up a bicone. Coming out the bottom of this silver 11-0 down here at my connection point. I'm going to find the one opposite it and go in the top. Make sure my bicone falls on the side where my other ones are sticking up a little. Pull tight. I'm going to go back through the bicone. I started coming out the bottom of this silver bead. I'm going to go back in the top of it. Pull my thread through. Now I'm going to go through all the 6 O's and all the 11 O's again. Just make sure you don't miss any beads, that your needle doesn't sneak out on you and bypass a bead. I'm going to sew around till I'm coming out the 11-0 opposite the 11-0 here at my connection point. Now I got 3 little flowers. Now I'm going to pick up 2 of my green 11-0s. Coming out the top of this silver 11-0, I'm just going to go in the bottom. Just circle around it. sure my beads land with their holes facing up. Now I'm going to go up this green bead. I'm going to pick up 2 more of my green 11-0s. Go from the top of this green one to the top of this green one. Go back through my silver 11-0. Back up through these 2 green ones. I'm going to pick up a silver 11-0. Go from the top of these 2 green ones to the top, down these 2 green ones here. Go back through my silver 11-0 here one more time. And back up these 2 green ones. Back out this silver one. Now I'm going to pick up 6 more of my 6-0s and make my other flower, and I'm just going to keep doing this. I'll probably run out of thread before I get this done, and when I do, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to add thread. So I'll be back. Okay, I've got 6 of my little flowers done here, and I need to add thread. So I'm going to end off this thread. I'm just going to sew back down through here. Probably just sew around this flower here and tie some 1/2-inch knots because it's easier to tie them in between these larger beads. So I'm just going to grab a thread bridge here and go through my loop. Slowly pull my knot down, go through a couple more beads, grab a thread bridge, I think I'll go through that 11-0. I'm afraid if it's in there pretty tight, I'm afraid if I do a thread bridge right there, it'll land down on the bead instead of between the beads. So I'm going to grab this thread bridge, go up through my loop, pull my knot down slowly, go through a couple more beads, grab my thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread knot down slowly, and go through a couple beads to get away from my knot, and cut my thread off. Now I've got a new piece of thread, and I've got a stop bead on it, and I've left about a 6-inch tail on this one so that I can sew my tail in. I'm just going to go down here, put my needle in here, just pull it through until my stop bead stops it. And I know I want to be coming out the silver bead opposite my connection here, so I'm going to sew up until I'm coming out that bead. sure to get through all the beads and don't let your thread sneak out or your needle sneak out. Okay, so now I'm here where I need to continue on with my stitch. So now I'm going to take this stop bead off and sew this thread in just like I did that thread. And then when I get all my flowers made, I'll put on the other side of my clasp just like I did the first side. And I noticed, and I don't know if y'all did, I happened to see I had an extra 8/0 laying here and I didn't understand why. I said I picked up an 11/0 and an 8/0 and went through my wire guarding, and I really picked up 2 11/0s. I didn't even use an 8/0 here. So I guess I'll do that same thing on the other side. Instead of having 2 11/0s and an 8/0 at the end here, I'm going to have 3 11/0s here, but that'll work out all right. I just usually use an 8/0 because it's the hole in it is bigger and it's easier to get through, but I mean that worked, so I'll just do that on the other end too. So when I get all that done, I'll be back and we'll put the clasp on. Okay, I'm done now, and I'm just going to put my clasp on here. I've got a 6mm jump ring here. Of course, you could put a lobster clasp on this if you want to, and an extender chain to make it adjustable. Put one end of my toggle clasp on. Put my toggle bar on. Make sure it'll go together. There we go. One thing I noticed when I was making it, it's real easy right here when you're going around your 6/0s and putting your 11/0s in between them. Of course, you don't have to put one here because you've already get this where you did your connection part. And there were several times where my mind wandered and I picked up an 11/0 here and went through this 11/0, and then I saw I had 2 11/0s right there next to each other and I had to go back and take it out. Plus, I've got quite a bit of thread showing on either side of my bicone here. You can't really see it because the thread's white and the beads are white, but if you are using different colors or something, you might want to pick up a 15/0 and put it on each side of your bicone. That's usually a good idea anyway, because sometimes these bicones are sharp and they can cut your thread. I probably should have done that, but I didn't. Like I said, I was just kind of doing this without doing it ahead of time. Didn't really know what I was doing. I hope this was helpful to the lady that wanted me to use 6/0s. Of course, these are not all 6/0s. I don't know if she meant she wanted me to use just, oh, another thing I was going to say, because your little bicones or whatever you put in the center is probably going to poke up a little on one side, stick out a little more on one side than the other. So you would want to make sure that you, whatever you're using for your center, you make sure it falls on the same side every time so that it's kind of got a tiny bit of a three-dimensional look. Not hardly, but kind of. So you just want to make sure whatever you use for your center is, falls on the same side of your bracelet every time. Let me get some of my stuff out of the way and I'll be back. Okay, there it is, all done. I was saying, and I lost my train of thought there. I hope the lady that asked me to do something with 6/0s, I hope this is helpful to her. She might have meant for me to do something with just all 6/0s, and of course I didn't. This has got other beads in there too, but I don't really know what I could have done with all 6 O's. I mean, a lot of the basic stitches that I've already done, you can do with 6 O's, like square stitch, herringbone, peyote. It would just make for a bigger bracelet. And you probably would have to reinforce a lot, because with the bigger beads, it's hard to keep them from being loose if you don't reinforce a lot. You could do this with something other than 6 O's. You could use 4mm rounds or fire polished, or 6mm, 8mm. You could do whatever size you want. Of course, if you used something bigger, you would have to probably use something bigger to go in your center here, rather than a 4mm bicone. In this, you could probably use a 4mm fire polish or something. I tried a 3mm fire polish in there, and it just didn't fill the little hole up enough that I didn't like it. So that's why I went with a 4mm bicone. But I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.